Today, we have MSI's updated Prestige 13 AI Plus Evo with Lunar Lake. Boy, what a mouthful. I mean, folks, was it really that hard to just call this the Prestige 13? Do we really need AI Plus Evo in the title? Anyway, this is a super lightweight 13-inch laptop with a beautiful display and very long battery life. For those looking for an extremely portable laptop for light tasks like office work and browsing the web, this is one you should definitely consider. However, we aren't fully sold on it, and certainly not at its $1,400 MSRP. Now, since I've had near time, I'm not going to make you watch this whole video to find out why. Instead, I'm just going to tell you right now. Its keyboard has an odd layout that caused me to mispress keys. The laptop also doesn't deliver on the full benefits of a Lunar Lake processor, like the other ones that we've tested with one. Specifically, during performance tasks, you will hear fan noise. It also doesn't provide as many creature comforts as competing laptops at this price point. For example, it doesn't have a fast refresh rate display or a haptic trackpad. And given its cheaper feeling build quality, we feel this laptop only becomes a good buy if you can get it on sale for around $1,000 or less. So with that said, Sierra is here to walk you through the details.
This chassis is nearly identical to the model from earlier this year, with the same ports, satin finish, and small size at 13 inches and 2.2 pounds. I need to emphasize how extremely light this is, perfect for throwing into a larger purse or smaller backpack. In terms of its build quality, its keyboard deck is very sturdy given how light it is. One thing we think they didn't expect us to notice is that the lid isn't as sturdy as the prior model. The plastic appears to be slightly thinner, leading to a bit of a cheaper feel. The laptop can be opened with one hand, and when you open it, the back of the laptop lifts up a bit off the desk, angling the keyboard slightly. This leads to better airflow and potentially improved ergonomics. Some people like it, like our video editor Colin, and others like Josh don't. Rounding out the chassis itself, it is a nice feeling laptop, but does not feel nearly as premium as the Dell XPS 13, Microsoft Surface Laptop 7, or the MacBook Air. Now, let's talk about ports. On the left side, we have an HDMI 2.1 port, two USB-C ports that both support Thunderbolt 4 speeds, and a headphone mic combo jack. On the right, we have a USB-A 5GB port, a Kensington lock slot, and a microSD card reader. We'd say the ports on this device are a bit more expansive than we usually see for a laptop this size, which is good. But it's a little annoying that all the display and USB-C ports are on the left side, so you can only charge or dock it from one side of the laptop. Cables could get in your way depending on where you need to plug in. Next, the keyboard is one of the things I actually enjoy quite a bit on this laptop. It's surprisingly comfortable to use for its size. It doesn't feel too low travel, which is likely because the keys are raised a bit more off the deck than we normally see. It also has a satisfying click to it. This could get annoying if you prefer a more quiet keyboard, but I like it a lot. On the downside, its arrow keys are very small, where they are smushed together with the page up and down keys on the left and right side. This often caused us to accidentally press them when reaching for the arrow keys. Also on the non-standard layout, they've added an extra backslash and pipe key next to the Copilot key. This is especially odd considering they already had one in its normal place below the backspace button, and they could have used the space for a right control key.
I just wanted to hop in and add something that I noticed. What I found is that the keys themselves, while comfortable to press, are smaller than the keys on other laptops, so that can take time to get used to. But on the positive, there are large gaps in between them, so it's not like you mispress other keys, well, perhaps except the arrow keys. It just feels oddly cramped. As far as good alternatives go, I feel the Surface Laptop 7's keyboard is noticeably better, as is the HP Pavilion Aeros.
Rounding out the keyboard, its backlight has this issue where it's bright, but a lot of light bleeds out around the sides of the keys, making it quite difficult to read the key characters themselves. The new trackpad seems mostly identical other than it being a little grippier, and that could be due to it being new. By grippier, I mean that it isn't the smoothest surface to glide your fingers across. Overall, it still feels accurate and responsive, and the click isn't overly loud for a mechanical one. Ethan gave it a 7 out of 10 for a mechanical trackpad, but a 5 out of 10 if you're comparing it to the more accurate haptic trackpads on a lot of comparable devices at this price point. Those nicer haptic trackpads can be found in the MacBook Air, the Dell XPS, and the Surface Laptop. The speakers, with or without their included audio tuning, felt very quiet at max volume. They lacked bass or a dynamic soundstage. The MacBook Air 13 continues to have the best speakers in a 13-inch laptop. They get much louder, sound much fuller, and have more clarity. Here's Josh with how the webcam looks and sounds.
Here's how the webcam looks and sounds in excellent lighting conditions. As you can see, the picture quality from the 1440 camera, not bad. But the audio from the mics, something is seriously wrong. This is unusable, and it's not fan noise. I don't know what it is.
The display is one of the places this laptop earns its name prestige. It comes with a 2.8K OLED panel with a wide color gamut. It has a crisp 255 pixels per inch, which means small text will look very clear. It also gets over 400 nits brightness and avoids the oh-so-common screen door effect on comparable OLEDs we've seen from other manufacturers. Screen door effect is when you can see colored pixels peeking through on bright content, which again is not present here. It is not a touchscreen, but it has a nice matte finish, which means combined with its brightness, you're less likely to see distracting reflections or glare in a brighter room. Its main negative is its 60Hz refresh rate, which is very disappointing to see at this price point. Now, let's get into the internals of this laptop. This new Lunar Lake Core Ultra 7 258V CPU comes with Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.4, and 32 gigs of memory, all integrated on the chip. This is great for faster memory speeds, but it does mean you can only upgrade the SSD. This limited upgradability is the same as the prior model, which had soldered RAM. Our model we have here has a 2TB SSD, but the online listing we are referring to throughout, with the $1,400 starting price, only comes with 1TB. Next, let's get into how it performs. As we've gone over in our Lunar Lake deep dive, these chips don't perform great in multi-core, but they do well in single-core and integrated graphics. The chip in this Prestige is the same one we received in our other two Lunar Lake laptops, the 258V, so we know it pretty well at this point. It has 8 cores, 4 performance and 4 efficient, and does not support multi-threading. One of the things we noticed on this chip in both this laptop and our Slim 7i Aura is that it performed better in its default mode for some things and better in its performance for others. So throughout this section, we are showing you its best scores. Starting with Geekbench, which tests a variety of common performance tasks, we see the new Prestige do the worst in multi-core out of competing 13-inch devices, other than the HP Aero. That laptop beats this one significantly in the price factor, though. The Prestige does well in single-core here, which means many applications will feel snappy and responsive. However, it's not as strong as the higher-end X Elite chip in the XPS or the MacBook Air in that regard. On to Cinebench, which tests the processor when it's maxed out, we see that this chip does a little better here, but it's still behind most of the competition in multi-core. In single-core, it keeps a solid hold on third place behind the X Elite and the M3. In general, its CPU performance is good enough for light tasks, but this is not a performance-focused laptop by any means. Back onto the positive. The graphics performance that Lunar Lake brings to the table is still solidly in the lead here among Windows competitors. In Wildlife Extreme, which runs natively on all hardware including Snapdragon and Apple, it does 15% better than the X Elite chip and only 5% worse than the M3's 10-core GPU. In TimeSpy, which does not run natively on all hardware because it is a DirectX 12 gaming benchmark, we see the Prestige take the lead, which isn't surprising. This means this laptop is definitely capable of some light gaming or basic creative tasks. Now, when it comes to heat and fan noise, we want to emphasize how quiet it is in both its balanced and quiet modes during light tasks. It barely makes any noise or gets warm to the touch. This is a significant improvement on the prior model, which had noticeable fan noise on its default balance mode, even for light tasks. We had to run that laptop on silent mode, which further nuked its performance. For those who want to run performance tasks on this laptop, let's get into how it feels and sounds for you. Its keyboard temps in our 10-minute Cinebench torture test were around the same as many of the competing laptops, but its fan noise is bad. It ties with the framework for being the loudest laptop on our list. This is especially disappointing considering one of the sacrifices of Lunar Lake that we've seen in other laptops is that you get less multi-core performance, but you get significantly better heat and fan noise. This all being said, compared to the older Prestige 13 with Meteor Lake, it is in general an improvement. It doesn't get as hot to the touch, and it doesn't throttle its performance in this 10-minute torture test like the prior model did. This new version is able to maintain its performance and consistently draws more power. When it comes to heat and fan noise during graphical tasks, it didn't get as loud or as hot as it did in CPU-intensive tasks like we mentioned earlier. Instead, we see it as one of the coolest of the bunch on the keyboard deck and about 5 dBs quieter than it was in Cinebench testing. Basically, light gaming is going to be comfortable even on the laptop's performance mode. In summary, keep it on its default or silent mode for non-graphical tasks, and you're likely to have a much more comfortable experience with this laptop than the prior generation. Just be aware that it does lower its multi-core performance even further. Now, believe me when I say we've saved the best for last. This little Prestige lasted just over 20 hours on battery on our video playback rundown. This means you may even be able to get 2 days of light use on it. This is a wonderful find. To test battery drain with the lid closed, we tested it overnight between shifts, and it only saw a 2% drain over 16 hours with Chrome and Word open. Drumroll, please. This means this MSI Prestige 13 dethrones the Zenbook S14 with Lunar Lake and becomes our new battery life king, at least for light use. When it comes to performance tasks, it does not throttle its performance while on battery. In fact, it did a bit better here. During our 30-minute Cinebench loop, it drained about a third of its battery. It does about as well as comparable devices in our list here. Yet, it still drains faster than laptops like the MacBook Air 13 or its previous iteration with Core Ultra Series 1, aka Meteor Lake. As we showed you earlier, this one can sustain drawing more power for longer than the prior model. One thing we did want to note is that MSI advertises this laptop as having a 75 watt-hour battery on their site, but we saw its design capacity was only 72 watt-hours when we did its battery report. That's why you'll see this in our graphs. However, its full charge capacity on the same report was 76, so it isn't actually far off from advertised. We just thought we'd give you this heads up. This brings us finally to pricing, which is where we feel this laptop does not do very well. It has an MSRP of $1,400, which seems to be the norm for these new Lunar Lake devices at launch. For that money, you are getting a laptop that performs well for light users, has a vibrant display, very long battery life, and is extremely lightweight. But its CPU performance is not great, and when doing performance tasks, it gets loud. The laptop also feels cheap at this price point. Its keyboard layout may cause you to mispress keys, and the laptop in general misses out on premium creature comforts, such as a fast refresh rate display. We feel this laptop should really only be bought at around a $1,000 price tag. Check out our website's new price tracking feature to make sure you're getting the best deal on it. If you're not sure about the Prestige now that we've given you all this info, here are a few others you may like better. If you want something portable for checking emails and writing up documents, you might be just as happy with the HP Pavilion Aero 13, which goes on sale frequently for under $700. You will be sacrificing some battery life, and the display isn't quite as nice though. On the flip side, if you do want a premium portable 13-inch laptop, the MacBook Air or Surface Laptop 7 is the way to go. They would both be a better buy, so long as your applications will work on macOS or the ARM version of Windows, which most basic applications do. But when Josh asked me personally which 13-inch I'd buy if he randomly handed me $1.4K to spend on a laptop, I told him I'd buy the ProArt PX13 in a heartbeat, because that's the one I've had my eye on ever since we reviewed it. It's far more powerful than this laptop with its AMD Zen 5 processor, it also has dedicated graphics, its screen is just as nice, it feels more premium, it doesn't get overly warm to the touch or have annoying fan noise, and it's a 2-in-1. You do lose out on battery life though, but if you want one like I do, link is below this video.
I 100% agree with Sierra. The ProArt is just so much more flexible in terms of what you can do on it. No matter which laptop you decide to buy, make sure to check out our website justjosh.tech. That's where you can find all the laptops we recommend for various types of users, as well as where to go to get the best deals on them. To support us and what we do here, you can now become a Patreon subscriber or YouTube member. We even have a tier where we give personalized laptop shopping advice. If you want to do something that is completely free, just hit the like button, get subscribed, and share the channel. Not only does it help us grow, which means that we can create more videos for you, but it also makes our dearest parents very proud. Till next time, go do something awesome with your day, and we will catch you later.